And we are back. I think I think that's officially my tagline, or I don't want to say it's official, but I think that's one of our taglines. I'm okay with running with it for now. It's I'm in a good space. I think a lot is happening. I feel like I've said that before, but there's a lot of moving parts in life right now, and one thing I've learned to embrace is just the natural flow of life and going with the flow. And I feel like it's been working for me over the last few weeks, being less resistant of what the universe puts in front of me. And to this point, it has been working in my favor, if I could say that. But it's been working, and I've recognized the work happening and how it's impacted my life. The next few weeks is going to be interesting. I think I want to say this now so you don't hold me to it later or blame me for or come after me as if though I didn't say it. So I'll say it here. I don't think that we're going to have an episode the next two weeks after this one. Maybe in 2 weeks' time, but I'm almost certain we're not going to have one next week. And that's because I'm about to embark on something that I used to do with some frequency back in the day. It's not too long ago, but I have this thing where I spend some time to, I call it, the theme of it is always escape the world you know to explore the world you don't. And I'm going on one of those little adventures shortly. I'm going to backpack through South America, and I'm excited about it. It's been too long between my last one, and I'm looking forward to it, and I think it is going to be the reset, the inspiration that I need, and it'll get me through. But so I'm just letting you know that don't expect an episode next week, which is fine. We're gonna get back to this as soon as I'm back. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna come back with some amazing stories and creative inspiration that I can lend you. And I say lend because I'm hoping that in our exchanges, you give me back some creativity as well, some inspiration. So yeah, we're here. We're going to start this off. We always start off these conversations with an exercise in mindfulness, just being present in a moment. 10 breaths, focus on your breath. I always prefer that your eyes are closed to avoid distractions. And we're going to start now. And we are here. And as like we always do around this time, I want to start you off with a brain teaser, a puzzle of sorts. It is, what is it that no one wants to have, but no one wants to lose either? What is it that no one wants to have, but no one wants to lose either? Like I said, the last week or so has been interesting. A lot is happening, both professionally, both personally, and I'm excited about it all. Right, to be able to. I think what's interesting, just because I live in my creativity in my personal life, and it's a huge part of who I am in my professional life. There's an overlap that always happens. Recently, and something that kind of triggered this particular conversation was a friend of mine, colleague, both entrepreneurs. she is a creative in her own right. In the things that when I say creative, in the sense that she's actively in pursuit of her creativity, but she is also a startup founder, and she knows that obviously she knows of me and how much creativity means to me, but she also knows that I'm an adjunct professor at Parsons, and I've invited her to be a guest critic for my class in times past. But she had reached out to me asking if she's a part of this organization, nonprofit, and they have an upcoming event, and she had reached out to see if one of the students could design a scarf that goes with the theme of this upcoming conference. She sold it. It was a great opportunity. When I read it, it felt like a great opportunity for one of the students. I know for a lot of them, they want to build out their portfolios and opportunities where they can work with external partners. And so I saw it as an opportunity. So I reached out to another good friend of mine who's also a colleague of mine. She is a professor as well. And I remember I sent her the message and I was like, hey, who would be the best person to contact if I wanted to reach a particular student that's specifically in fashion design? And I didn't get the response I thought I was going to get. Not that I wanted. I didn't have I didn't want any particular response, but I didn't get the response that I thought that I was going to get. I was met with a response was, oh, we are a little sensitive about these type of requests because it almost feels like people are just trying to exploit the students. Initially, I my first response was, I don't think that's what it was, but then I thought a little deeper. And the reason I initially thought that it couldn't be, the intent couldn't be to exploit was because of who he was coming from. And there's bias there, right? So I didn't originally thought that was the case. But when I heard the response and I thought about it a little deeper, I could see the angle. Like I could honestly see that there's an opportunity here where someone could leverage a creative resource and in exchange for nothing, because in the conversation, compensation, it was almost, I think they specifically asked for free work. And I think that should have been a trigger for me as someone who has been on, I don't want to say both sides. I know I've been on the creative side, but I'm trying to think if I've asked somebody to do something for free or lend their creativity to me for free. But I'm not saying I don't want to be hypocritical and say I've never done that. So let's assume that I have too. So I've been on both sides of that, of the coin. And I responded to the original request saying, hey, this is what the response was. You don't necessarily have to pay them $1 million, but if you can just give something to show that, hey, for whoever the kid is or the student is, they can at least feel like they've been compensated for the work that they've done. Because, I mean, I'm almost certain it's going to be amazing work. And I think you as the requester know that. That's why you asked. And it was interesting. I think the response then I got, then the original person responded by saying, well, let me go see if there's budget. So, and then it got me to think, well, the fact that now you have to go see if there's budget, then it's like, okay, maybe there was no thought of this being a work that came with compensation. So the original intent has always been free. So you're looking for free work. And I understand. And I mean, like, listen, things are hard all the way around. So if we can, especially for a nonprofit that you're actually trying to give back to the community in some capacity, an opportunity to not have to get rid of the limited resource you have to be able to get something it's vital, right, for survival of that in itself. And even if for nonprofits or actual profit making businesses, for corporations, for startups, for small businesses, it's like anywhere we can uh, get more with less is a win. So I understand it. Then it got me to thinking of how do you even recognize when you're being exploited for your creativity? And I think it's hard. It's even harder. It's even harder to recognize that you're being exploited for your creativity when the person that is attempting to exploit it has some familial connection to you, right? Or is a close friend, or a colleague that you trust. When requests come from those people, I don't think you ever second guess or question the authenticity or the integrity behind the request itself. And as creatives, we cherish our creativity, and it's not like we're out here just giving it away for free. It's like, for a lot of us, this is our livelihood. This is how we survive. And it's tough for us to even imagine a, a situation where we're being exploited by people that we hold dear to us for our creativity. And for me, it's like it has happened more times than not. And I've seen it both professionally and personally. And as when I talk about creativity, especially mine, I've always said this. This has always been my intro. When I describe myself, I say I'm a creative whose creativity takes shape in a form of innovation that sometimes leads to technology. It doesn't always. There's always innovation, but it's not always. It doesn't always end up in technology. I think for a huge part of my life, I've been involved in technology, and because of that, that is where that additional I don't want to say association came about. But it has always been innovation. But one thing that I think it's common to me or associated with me that I don't say in that statement is another way that my creativity takes shape is in how I put words together. Some might say I'm a good orator, or however you. Some people say orator or orator. I have a gift of putting words together. It's the gift of gab, and I remember when I used to write music, I wrote a line that says, I should get paid off these words like a Hallmark sales rep. And I know that about myself. I know that, especially if you give me time to think. I'm good at on the spot, but it's almost, and I'm saying this without trying to toot my own horn. Sometimes I read back the stuff that I've written. It almost seems poetic, even though it's not intentional. It comes out that way. And I've been told that even the way I speak, some would describe it as charismatic of sorts, and I'm conscious of it. I don't know that it's intentional, but I'm conscious of it and how it's received, and because of that, it has given me opportunities. It's created spaces for me that for people that are in my particular field may not have been exposed to. So, for example, as much as I was in technology, being technical and being like, especially on the development side, they're not known to be the most social people. But in my role, I've always had a people-facing role, a customer-facing role. So, and that allowed me to always be on a stage somewhere. Like I've done like major device launches. I've done commercials. For one, there was a moment in my life I was the face of B2B for one of the largest tech companies in the world. So I did the commercials. I was doing all the interviews, and my face was all over the place. And as much as I was technical, I was this innovative person. I was able to, my ability to put words together put me in places that my technical skills would not have, wasn't enough to get me there. And what's interesting about that is I start to see it more and more. And while I was being compensated for my role as this innovator, as the lead innovations guy and the technical guy, all these opportunities came up because the way how good I am at articulating myself and how I'm able to present that. And as I'm traveling to all these places, I'm put in front of all these cameras and these microphones in front of me. So like, I wasn't being compensated for that. Honestly, I think I was being used for that ability. And it happened more times than not. And I think that was one of the reasons why I left corporate America, thinking this was something that was kind of synonymous or associated with corporate America. It's just this idea of like, oh, just exploit your employees as much as possible. And I remember one time I was getting on stage. I think I may have told this story before, but I was being mic'd up. I had done makeup. I'm being mic'd up. And then some of the executives were in the room with me. And I heard whispers like, oh, yeah, he is exactly what we were looking for. And it rubbed me the wrong way, if I'm honest. And that was one of the turning points of my professional career. But fast forward to now being knee deep in entrepreneurship and being asked to do certain things, to be now on panels and to moderate panels. And so every time I'd go to something and conversations happened, and those would usually lead to something else. And then the next thing I know, I have a mic in my hand and I'm addressing a crowd. And for the most part, the people that would generally ask me are people that I know. These are my friends. So I never took anything. I didn't think anything of it. But at no point was, along with the requests, at no point came an offer of compensation. Now, I don't blame them because, again, I believe that, hey, if we're doing this life thing together, and I think we each have to help each other. And I'm not going to, whatever you're going to compensate me with is not going to make or break who I am. But eventually I learned later that it doesn't matter. If they value your creativity as much as you do, then you should be compensated. And a lot of times they disguise their intentions or their attempts to not want to compensate with offers of exposure, offers of it being a great opportunity. And I'm not saying those instances can't be authentic. I'm saying that when it happens more times than not, then somebody has realized that, hey, we can take advantage of your creativity in exchange for nothing. And eventually you're going to start to realize that if you haven't yet, there's value in the things that you create. There's value in your creativity. And ultimately, if you are unable to add a value on that, and you don't appreciate the invaluable nature of it, then somebody else is going to assign a value to it. And the value that they offer you might be nothing, but they'll take that nothing value that they paid you and turn it into value for them in whatever it is they're using your creativity for, whatever outlet it is. And then going back to the conversation around me being on stages, I remember a time past, there's this I don't even want to give context to it, but I was always asked. But every time I'd get on stage, when I walk off, it was almost like a line of people trying to talk to me and get insights, like additional information. How can I stay in contact? How can I do this? And then the person who invited me, who put the event together, would see that and always want to invite me for future. And then one time I had asked, I said, are these your attendees, do they pay to be here? And she was like, oh yeah, they pay. They actually pay a lot. And I had my response to that was like, okay, do you budget out for your speakers? And they're like, oh no, we're a nonprofit and we don't make any money, and the whole spew. And I think I did it maybe for 3 years, a few years. But eventually, I had to come to the realization that, hey, this is a form of my creativity, right? And again, creativity doesn't have to showcase itself in the arts. It doesn't have to be the way you paint or the way you draw or the way you sing or the way you dance. It could just be as simple as the way you put words together. And for me, that is my gift. And I can't let people continue to exploit that without offering anything in exchange. And once I learned that, I'm more cognizant of when attempts are being made to try to take from my creativity or exploit my creativity. And I can decipher when it's authentic and when, again, it's just an act of exploitation, right? And this can happen in anything. Before we all started somewhere, and my first technical job was a webmaster. And then even in that particular space, I realized that I had found creative ways to do my job really, really well. And at the time, I had a counterpart that started along with me, and I don't know that we were moving at the same pace. Not to say that he wasn't as skilled as I was. I'm saying that for some reason, my output was far greater. And because of that, I started to see that the powers that be saw that and took advantage of it. And that didn't come with additional compensation. And unfortunately, that's just the reality of how life is. And I want to say that it'll change. I want to say that I hope that you all will get compensated accordingly for your creative gifts. But unfortunately, the world we live in is built on exploitation. And usually the ones that are being exploited are the creatives like you and I. And you can't expect people to proactively seek to compensate you. I think you have to learn how to put a value on your creativity. And I want to say value over price, because price can fluctuate. But put a value on your creativity and know how to get that value, at least equivalent compensation for whatever that value is, or whatever value you assign to it. And that is important. With that said, as always, I don't want to prolong this. There's so much I want to talk about when it comes to how our creativity is exploited, and how to recognize when it's being exploited. And I think you can only do so much without starting to feel like you're being used, that you're being taken advantage of. And for different people, the threshold is a little different, right? For us, it only takes one time. For a few of us who are still trying to get into that creative rhythm, a huge part of that is kind of just output, right? Just getting stuff out. And maybe that's an opportunity, an outlet for you to get the things out and then practice your craft and hone in on your abilities to create. So it might not necessarily be that big of a loss for you in that regard. But eventually, You're going to have to understand that, hey, the value that exists within your creativity is a value that you yourself have to assign to it. Because people will be intentional about undervaluing your creativity just so they can take advantage of you. And if you're not able to recognize it, it'll happen continuously. And they will try to discredit you or reduce the value just so they can continue to take advantage of it. And I don't want that for you. I don't want it for myself. With that said, I'm going to end this exactly how we started it, with the brain teaser / puzzle. It is, what is it that no one wants to have, but no one wants to lose either? What is it that no one wants to have, but no one wants to lose either? A lawsuit. That is it, a lawsuit. And if your creativity is being exploited, sue them. All right. With that said, I will see you in a few weeks. I'm excited about this adventure that I'm about to get on, and I'm excited about coming back and creating this space and sharing it with you. As always, I will leave you how I always leave you. Go be great.